Let me start with the idea that usually when we are studying innovation, we are really thinking of new product, new process, new business models, so innovations which are very much discrete or granular. And now a lot of scholars are thinking that this kind of taxonomy of innovation, so again product, process, business model, don't cover everything, don't capture actually a key issue now, which is systems transformation, which means transforming a system. It might be any kind of cases of transformation, like establishing a circular economy in a specific industry, or developing a sustainable mobility in a city, etc., etc. On all these kind of cases, we want to push and to support the transformation at system level. And this is innovation in a sense, but very different from a product, process and business model. I think it is different in two aspects. First, this is no longer granular, so this is not just one new product or one new service, but really this system transformation, which can include many types of innovation, many types of new services, infrastructures, etc. So this is, let's say, a framework which is going to be, in a sense, developed through many different types of initiatives. The other big difference with product, process and business model is the centrality of the public sector as not only the funder but also the orchestrator of this kind of strategy and transformation. So then what really makes this transformative innovation policy new and challenging, I think it is for different reasons. One reason is that I think it has an experimental nature, which means that any systems transformation, this is an experiment, this is a large-scale experiment where you will try, or the policymaker or the public agency will try different kind of incentives, different kind of mechanisms, new services to trigger transformation, changes in behaviors, in companies, projects and so on and so forth. And so then you have to experiment and to conduct an experiment, to observe what's happening, to evaluate the experiment and then to implement it in the real world. So this experimental nature of transformation innovative policy, I think, is a key point. It is a key point also because it changed the mindset. It changed the mindset of the policymaker, who in a sense should not just come to a problem with a list of instruments which have been determined ex ante. I will put these subsidies, these tax, these rewards, or etc. But what has to be done is to be discovered actually. As the experiment is conducted with different kind of mechanisms, incentives, etc., who is conducting the experiment will observe what works, what doesn't work, what should be changed, etc., etc. So in that sense, the policy for transformative innovation, this is a discovery process. And this is particularly the idea that you understand progressively what are the problems, the constraints, the gaps that needs to be solved. And you discover also the willingness of the main stakeholders, companies, citizens, to change their behaviors as these problems are solved, actually. This discovery component is very important to understand this kind of policy. And the other big issue is coordination, because you have to precisely act in many different areas. You have to intervene on markets with market instruments, such as tax, subsidies, regulation. You might have to interact on the technological domain, so to promote some technologies to help for technological innovations. And finally, you have to act also on the social norms, which means on all social practices, consumers' patterns, lifestyles even, etc., etc. If you think of an example like sustainable mobility, this is exactly that. You need market instruments, you need technologies, and you need also the participation of consumers, of citizens, to adopt new ways of mobility. But of course, this is based on the other actions. They need a better public transport, they need some kind of new business models like car sharing or e-biking, etc. Maybe they need new infrastructures, and so on and so forth. And so then the coordination, all these actions is super important, because only one action will not really pay off. Actually, what will pay off is when all these actions are undertaken simultaneously, and that will probably trigger persistent path for structural changes, actually. So that's also important. And the final point I like to say is that actually the public sector saw a key role for this kind of system transformation. And I don't think any other economic agents could play this role actually. And we could think of large companies would like to do that, would like to offer a package of system transformation like IBM with Smart City, some other companies which offer something which is very much integrative and transformative, or maybe Tesla or Google who will develop a specific city for autonomous driving, etc. Companies are interested in that. But first then you have monopolization issue because company will control everything. And secondly, you will have bias actually, because the company is going to be much interested in the kind of transformation which will really serve its own business models while not paying attention to the other areas of interventions which are also important. And so I think the public sector is a better place or a better agents for managing, coordinating this kind of transformative innovation. And so then this is why we have this kind of issue. And just to finish, I think that telling that this is a public sector innovation doesn't mean the private sector should not be in. Of course, it should be, because it might make some of the actions more cost effective. And of course, citizens and society have to be involved because the large-scale behavioral tipping issues are also extremely important.
Thank you so much, and looking forward to your guidance in the next phases of the TiCCA4DANU project.
With pleasure.
Thank you so much.